Hi guys, thank you and welcome to the SM Plumbing channel. In this episode, we're going to be looking at hot water cylinders, otherwise known as geysers. We're going to go through all the components surrounding a geyser so that should you have a problem and you need to try to tackle it yourself, you're going to know what you're looking at, what its function is, and how to possibly rectify the problem. So enjoy this episode with us guys, like us and subscribe. Have fun. Hi guys and welcome back to the SM Plumbing channel. This is episode 2 of hot water cylinders, and if you've joined us for the first time, please click here for episode 1, giving you the basics and the concepts around the geyser so that you know what you're looking at when you look at it. I'm Mario, otherwise known as Super Mario, and this is
Alex, Safety Officer.
Alex, Safety Officer and Inspector. Alright guys, so let's tackle it, let's jump right into it, Alex. Alex, we're going to look at a couple of things when we're dealing with a hot water issue. So we've got a geyser, we've paid our electricity account, we're just not getting hot water, right? So if you're going to tackle it yourself guys, and you want to have a look at these things, like Alex is promoting, safety first, and always make sure that you're in a safe working environment. Alright, so when you look at it Alex, the first thing you've got to make sure is that you're getting power to the unit, or at least when you're going to open up to check, you need to take on your DV board or your distribution board, we need to always make sure that our power is switched off. Okay? So guys, what we're saying is on your DV board, we need to make sure that your main isolator or breaker switch on your DV board is switched off. From there, we can enter the ceiling safely. So we're going to enter the ceiling, and we're going to need a couple of tools with us, the basics to do a test. All hot water cylinders are different, but these are just the basics, guys. We're going to need a multimeter, because we're going to want to do a check of power. We're going to need a electrician's or electrical screwdriver, Phillips head, and we're going to need a socket wrench. Alright, so what we're going to do, Alex, is we're going to come upstairs, we're going to climb into the geyser, we're going to open up the protection cover plate, guys. This is the business end of the geyser. This is the side that's doing the electrical. This is what's heating up your water. Guys, this is a temporary installation. If you've watched our first video, you know that. This is just so that we can give you guys a better idea of what to expect when you get into a roof and what to look for. Yeah. Alright, so we've got our inspection cover off, guys. Very important that we put it back. It does have a protective gasket around it to protect it. Should there be a water leak, it will protect the electrical components. Alright. Alex, like we mentioned in video 1, a couple of things happening here. We've got our electric thermostatic switch. It's basically just a switch that switches on and off the power to the element which heats up the water, right? So our first test, guys, is to make sure that we don't see any visual problems with the geyser. So we're looking for any breaks in the wires, anything that looks distorted or burnt off, or a burnt out switch. All right. Now that we've determined that the cover is open and we're working in a safe environment, we should climb back downstairs. We switch on our isolator switch again. Where's that switch, Alex? There we go. We give power to the geyser, so now we're going to do a continuity test, guys. We're going to make sure that from your distribution electrical board, we've got a cable that's ultimately this cable that runs through this switch here. Make sure that we've got power from our mains to the geyser, right? So we climb into the ceiling. Our separate oscillator switch in the ceiling is on position, so we're making sure that we've got a flow of current. We then do a normal test, okay, guys? We do a simple test here. If we're happy with everything, okay, this isn't connected to power, so you're not going to really get a reading. But if there was power connected, you're going to get a reading of about 230, 240 volts. If this was the case on site, you definitely know you've either got a break in the wire or there's a fault with your breaker switch. Alright, so for illustration purposes, we're going to test here. We're going to make sure we've got power. Once we're happy we've got power, Alex, we're going to make sure that our setting hasn't been tampered with and that we're not on 0 degrees. So we're sitting on 50 degrees. So technically, guys, this should be getting hot unless there's a fault with the element. Alright, we're going to dig in deeper, and therefore we need to switch off our oscillator switch that's within the geyser area or around the geyser area for safety. We then do a second test, guys. We're going to make sure that there isn't a fault with the switch and that we're not working under live current. Okay, we do a test, 0, that's what it should show if that oscillator switch wasn't a dummy and it was switched off, guys. We do a test, we got 0 current, we're happy to carry on working on this geyser. Alright. Once that's done, Alex, you can simply disconnect the live and neutral on the switch. Okay, that was neutral, that's live. We can get our power terminals out. Alright. Now guys, we're going to pull out the thermostatic switch and test the element. This is a probe. This is what picks up the temperature on the inside of the geyser. It then switches on and off, allowing the power that's getting supplied to then give power to the element. Right. So we've taken that out. We now need to have a look at the element. We can do a simple continuity test with the multimeter, guys. So if we turn it onto a sound setting or a continuity setting, we can give that a test. You don't need power for this. You should get a sound response here. There we go. So to make sure that there's no break in the actual element that's spiraled up in the inside of your cylinder, guys, we're going to make sure there's no break. We're going to do a test here. Push it into the 2 probes, and there we go, guys. This element is alright. It has got continuity. That doesn't mean that it's not faulty. Alright, so now we've checked it. It's a simple test to check whether your element has got continuity, so there's no break in that coil or that spiral. We've tested power here. Let's open it up and assume that the element wasn't correct. In that case, you wouldn't get a sound here. So we're going to just quickly take off our temporary earth strapping that we put here for display. Alright, that's out. That's out. Guys, earthing the geyser is very important. This keeps the household safe. Should there be a break in the element, you can trip the power. Alright guys, I've got a quick setup here. This is a size 13. Like we said, it's not going to be as easy as this. Oh, stop, Alex. Wait. Let's tell these guys what they should be doing first. Guys, this is a dummy installation. Alright, before we attempt to open the flange cover of this geyser, guys, we need to make sure our water is switched off. So we're going to shut off our water. There should be a shut-off valve within the cold water supply to the geyser. We should simply shut it off there. If there isn't one, you might have to switch off your mains.
That's water meter. Normally
at the water meter, correct. Yes. So we open up here, guys. We need to depressurize it. It is a high pressure vessel. So we need to open any hot water tap or faucet that's running off this geyser within the house. Make sure that the pressure is alleviated from this tap.
All right. Once your water's been shut off by the water meter or by the shut.
That's it. So we're shutting off the water. We're taking the pressure out of the system. Great. We now need to drain the geyser, guys. We open up here. If this is a wall mount or an outside installation, simple. You open it out. You might want to save this water, guys, in a bucket you can use in your garden or something. Otherwise, you should have a geyser tray that this then drains and expels the water to a safe outside location. Alright, so we open up the water, we drain the water.
Open up there, remember you need to let air to go into the geyser as well.
Yes, guys, what Alex is saying, you might need to get a little bit of air displacement going on here. So once you've drained a little bit of water, it is suggested sometimes you can just open up on the vacuum breaker here.
On the hot water side.
On the hot water or the cold water, on the hot water side or the cold water side. Hot water side does work more effectively. We open up, we're now letting air into the system. So the air is coming in through this void. We're working with no water pressure, water's shut off. That's then allowing the water to drain a lot quicker, guys. That's just a hack, that's a tip. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting here for an hour. Alright, guys. So now we've drained our geyser, we start opening up here very quickly. We're taking out our flange cover gasket that houses our element, which is the business end of the hot water cycle. Getting that all out. Alright guys, if you're working in the ceiling, safety first. Make sure you're not dropping these on the ceiling boards and trapping on them later, you will cause a problem. Alright guys, this flange comes off. There is a gasket inside here. It's our gasket, guys. This is a second-hand geyser that was decommissioned for a lot of reasons. But as you can see, that's our element, guys. So, looking at it nicely, we've got our element that simply presses into the element. That probe, if you have a look nicely, comes into this shaft and it's picking up the water temperature this side. If I had a faulty element and I was replacing it, Alex, we would replace that gasket at the same time.
Yes, because the gasket normally comes.
This gasket, guys, we replace it. If you're doing a hot water service, you don't leave anything out. You don't want to be back in that roof or back on that ladder because you didn't do it properly.
Or it starts leaking.
Or it starts leaking and it starts affecting your cylinder in other ways. Alright guys, so that's it. It's a gasket that needs to be replaced if we were servicing this geyser. That's the element that we'd simply unscrew from here. We'll get it replaced, we bang it back in. That's our element, that's our thermostat. These are the electrical working components. That's what it is. Alright, I'm going to put that one side, Alex. That's going to let a little bit of light in there. Guys, another thing we need to show these guys, Alex, is the insulation that we got going on here and how that affects hot water. Alright, guys, if you have a look here on your typical cylinder or your geyser, otherwise known as a geyser, we've got two things happening here. What you see is not your geyser, but rather a protective housing. This houses the geyser, it protects the geyser from getting damaged. We have what we then call an insulation layer. If you have a look there, it's a foam-based layer. And then we have on this section here, the steel portion that you see here, this cast iron steel, is our internal cylinder. Guys, that's the pressurized vessel. That's what we're talking about here. That's where your water gets housed. That's where everything happens. So this is a protective cover, this is insulation, and that's your actual geyser. Alright, so if we have a look at it, once the geyser goes through a heating cycle and it doesn't get used up, this is going to maintain the temperature of the internal cylinder for at least 24 hours with a minimal drop of temperature on the inside of this hot water cylinder. On the inside of a ceiling or the inside of a roof, we're well insulated in that case, and your geyser is not going to go through a lot of repeat heating cycles unless there's a fault with the thermostatic switch. Alright. Guys, another thing to note on that element, the thermostat side of things, is that there's another reason for no hot water, guys, we almost missed it, is if your thermostatic switch is faulty, guys, and it's not switching off, that's the switch you pulled out of the element. If it's not switching off and your geyser is going through an overheating cycle, it then starts pouring out what we call a TP valve. That's the temperature and pressure safety valve around the back of the geyser here. And the water expels, and you're not getting as much hot water or as many liters of hot water that you're normally getting, and it's running out quite quick. It could be that the element starts switching off and you're losing a lot of it through your TP valve here. Another thing is, once that's happened a couple of times where your geyser's been used quite often, these valves do fault and they automatically start releasing water when they shouldn't. So your thermostat's working right, your element's working right, everything's happy, but you're just not getting hot water. You've got power coming through the system, but you've got water running to the outside from this discharge pipe, and it's continuously flowing. Guys, you can imagine your hot water is all going to the outside, and you're not getting a buildup of 150 liters or 200 liters of hot water because it's all running to the outside and it's affecting the optimum heating of the water.
It can be that there's a burst hot water pipe as well in the wall somewhere.
Guys, another problem, if you're running a hot water line and you've got a hot water pipe and it's running from the geyser and it's feeding a lot of areas in the house, and it goes underground and it's feeding a cottage and a second bathroom, third bathroom, fifth bathroom, and you notice damp spots or damp areas, it could be a hot water line that's leaking underground. Call us, we'll do a leak detection for you, we'll isolate the problem, and we'll have you back up and running as soon as possible. Alright, so that's the basics around the hot water side of the geyser, guys. Let's have a look on the inside here. There's a couple of things to note as well on the second hand geyser that we got going. I'm going to put my hand through the element side. Alright guys, this is the nonsense that comes to your system. That's why we always promote putting in an inline strainer to protect the inside of this geyser. Guys, when you service a geyser, the right thing to do is to clean this out, or as much of it as you can. So you can imagine I'm doing an element change now. My hand comes into this, I'm wearing safety gloves, I grab all the debris that I can, I'll take it out and I'll throw it away. If we have a look here, guys, this is terrible. This is a gasket that's breaking into pieces. This is the gasket that was on the flange. Alex, if you want to just pass us that flange, we'll show you where this probably came from. You don't want that in your hot water pipes. It's going to block up your taps, your shower roses. If we have a look there, that's the missing piece. That should have been there. It's off, guys. We need to service these electrical components at least every 18 months to be safe. Clean out your cylinder and happy days. Guys, we also get a burst geyser scenario. That's the worst scenario possible on a hot water problem. That's when this internal cylinder itself, through the rust, if you have a look here, there's a lot of rust that builds up because it doesn't get cleaned out often enough. So the debris sits there and it collects, and it causes a rust pile-up, and that effectively rusts your internal cylinder here, and your geysers, they're what we call ruptured or burst. And in that scenario, you're again going to have a lot of water either dripping on your ceiling if it's not done properly, or coming out of your drip tray, your outlet pipe. And depending how severe the burst is, you're therefore also losing a lot of your hot water, guys. So very important, when you get a service provider out there, make sure that they're doing a holistic check, that if they are changing your elements and thermostat, and they're doing the electrical service, guys, a good thing to do is element, thermostat, gasket, clean what you can from the inside, and replace that TP valve. Then you're safe, and you know you're not going to come home one day and there's going to be no hot water, unless, like I said, you haven't paid your electricity account or loaded prepaid airtime. Guys, thank you, Alex. This is what Alex cut out for us earlier on. This is the cutout section from here. Guys, you can see the debris that builds up within the geysers, and that's why they rust. And they rust through on certain points. The lower points of the geyser are most prone for this, because that's where the dirt and the debris sits. And this is where your geyser ruptures and loses its pressure and water at the same time. That's what we refer to in plumbing terms as a burst geyser or ruptured cylinder.
And this corrosion also causes from the anode.
That's it, guys. To prevent this buildup of rust, or to protect your geyser and prolong the lifespan of the internal cylinder, this is this, guys. That's what it looks like. We have what we call a sacrificial anode. Again, we mentioned it in our first video. We're going to go briefly over it again now. But yes, if you haven't watched that first video, guys, and you're going to try tackle a hot water cylinder yourself, please have a look at our comments, watch our first video, like us, subscribe to us. There's going to be more about hot water cylinders and other aspects of plumbing. So on the side of the geyser, closest to your electrical side, you're going to see a cover plate that states anode. It's an anode. It's a sacrificial anode, guys, because it threads directly onto your hot water cylinder. If you have a look there, it bypasses your protective cover. This is your anode. We take it out from here. Okay, guys, this is a sacrificial anode. It's recommended on most mild steel geysers that this particular part gets replaced on an annual basis or every 12 months. And what this does, guys, is this is sacrificial. If it's working correctly, it will prevent the rust from building up on the internal cylinder like you see here, and it would rather collect and build up on this anode. This one's already quite worn. This should have been replaced a while ago. We take it out, we replace it, we're done. We're therefore making sure that the anode rusts first, in layman terms, before your internal cylinder. And that's what it does. Like boats, guys, boats have got a steel boat or a carrier vessel. They've all got sacrificial anodes on them to protect them from the rust. A very important thing to service. Nobody does it, but we can and we do. Alright.
The anode's actually supposed to be replaced every 18 months.
Yeah, depending on your water system and that, it's up to you, but they do recommend every 12 months, yeah. Alright, guys. I don't know if you saw on the inside there, a lot of people don't know what that is. You know, you don't want to open it up, you don't know what you're looking at. This here, guys, is on the cold water line. If you have a look on the side here, this is coming in the cold water side, it's coming in here. This is basically a cold water inlet diffuser that makes sure that as you switch on water, it's not just this hose pipe of water getting into the geyser. It spreads and it's not directed just in one place. It's just diffusing the water so that it's evenly spread on entry. All right, guys, another safety item. Another safety item, or another item that could affect your hot water supply. So we've got the TP valve that can run out water. We've got a burst geyser that'll give you the running water effect, and obviously then loss of hot water. We've also got what we call a pressure reducing valve. Now, a lot of installations, especially in our country, which is South Africa, we're going to have one of these fitted close to the geyser or within this, as you see in this installation, just after a shut-off valve. We've got a valve that's there. It's color coded, guys. The color coding is basically your pressure rating on the unit. A lot of the times, Alex, with a build-up of pressure as the geyser is heating up and it goes through a heating cycle and hot water is not being utilized, we're going to have a scenario where it needs to relieve that pressure again as a protection tool to protect the internal cylinder of your geyser, guys. So we need to relieve that pressure. You're going to have this through every heating cycle where the hot water is not being utilized. We're going to have this dripping, and then it'll stop. And that's at the rating that it's prescribed on the particular unit. Okay, this is a 400 kPa. You do get other makes of these. They do look different, but yeah, that's basically it.
That's what they call expansion.
That's what they call expansion in relief. Yes. Once some of these units most of the time you should replace this unit on replacing your hot water cylinder, but if it hasn't been done in a while, you're going to find that this is going to start running water. It's going to be running hot water as the backup and the relief, and you're therefore going to start losing pressure in the cylinder and hot water within the cylinder.
And it's also, it can cause for no hot water at your taps as well, once the filter inside here is blocked.
Okay, like Alex is saying, there's an internal filter here, guys. It's like a little sieve. Water passes through here. You can imagine all that dirt has to come from somewhere. A lot of that is rust inside there, but from your water mains you get a lot of sand, debris and the rest of it. It piles up, it packs up in here. You open your hot water tap, you open your cold water tap, you got pressure. You open your hot water tap, there's no pressure, water's not coming out. We just need to simply unscrew this, put a little protective tray here if you're working in a ceiling, because there could be a little bit of leftover water in the pipes. We open up here, we rinse it out, we simply put it back. I've got a unit here that we can have a look at. We've got a unit here, similar unit, same thing, guys. This is your pressure reducer, and we've got a little sieve. So the water passes through here and comes out here. This gets clogged up, guys. You open your hot water tap. If it's full up with dirt and debris, you're not going to get any hot water out of your taps. So a good checkpoint when you're doing the service, open up, rinse it out, clean it out. All right. That's it, Alex.
Back to the hot water side to show them.
Alex, let's have a look. Let's get a closer look at that TP valve. Yeah, let's get it out. Alright guys, if we have a look on the inside here, this is our TP valve. That's a temperature and pressure safety relief valve. It picks up the temperature on the inside. If I just unscrew this temporary fixing that I've done here. Alright. Okay, you would typically need a wrench of some sort or a spanner to take this out. This is only for demonstration, so it isn't put in properly. Alright. I haven't cleaned it or anything, just so that you get an idea of how it could look. That's it, guys. This picks up the heat from the system, and if it goes over a certain heat or a the safety rating of the unit, it's going to expel that water out. Your geyser going to fill up with cold water, so that it puts the geyser back into a safe mode. Alright guys, a very important installation point. It does get blocked up, it does need to be cleaned and or replaced from time to time. On the pressure side, it has got the relief, so if there's too much pressure build up in the system, again, this is a safety device. It will relieve that pressure through the expulsion pipe. That should lead to an outside but safe area. Alright guys, not much more to that. The only thing I must say to you is that it's very dangerous if this starts leaking water out that pipe and you don't know what it is or what it's doing, and you think you know better than the engineer that designed this unit, and you go put a stopper here or a stop in here and you just cap it off. Guys, this thing was faulting. You're no longer protecting your geyser, and you're looking at a major catastrophe in terms of either a burst geyser or water everywhere in your ceilings because you decided your geyser does not need this.
Actually,
the temperature and safety, that's it. This needs to be in every installation. It can't be left out. Very important. Alright guys, I think that's it. Like us, like me, like Alex. Let's subscribe. If you got any questions on hot water cylinders and there's something that you think you need to know, please let's get the comments below. Let's get the likes.